the new H1B proclamation that's going on, where people who are within the United States has to pay this 100,000. There's no way that they will be able to get into their H1B without going to the consulate. Hello everyone, welcome to the Law Offices of Mary Kennedy. Today we are going to discuss about the new H1B proclamation that's going on, very intense, with the update from the USCIS. So the proclamation came in September, where it's effective from September 21st, as we all know. But we didn't have more clarity or the details about who's the particular people on the H1B who is supposed to pay this 100,000. So USCIS came up with the details, and along with that some FAQs and very detailed explanation who has to pay this 100,000. I'll make it as simple as possible. One thing you will see to it, people who are within the United States and they are applying for a new H1B or change of status, H1B amendments, extensions, or even a transfer, they are not going to be applicable enough for this 100,000. So where it goes and who is the one that who has to apply for it. So when we do complete a H1B form, there is something called, we do it as change of status or an extension when the people are over here within US. So for the marking even on the H1B forms where it is said consulate approval, means there's no way that they will be able to get into their H1B without going to the consulate. They have to go for a visa, or they are going to be outside the United States in particular. Those are the people who wants to apply for a H1B, being a new H1B. That is how we mark it on the forms as well. So for people who had been going through the consulate or out of country, has to pay this 100,000. And USCIS has also clarified how it has to be paid. They have mentioned it very clearly. Even before these application to be reviewed, they have to have the proof that this has been paid through the particular site, along with the bank account details and everything properly given, and then they have to pay for it. This is applicable for the H1B category of filing. It's a proclamation. The president has more power for people who are outside the United States. So to make it simple, that's one of the reasoning that was given, that the power of the president is more when it's outside, and so it makes it more sense when you look into the proclamation that this fees is going to be applicable for people who are applying outside the United States. For example, I'll just go with the case scenario. A person has an H1B, but for some reason he is out of country now, in India or some other country, but he already had an H1B and he also has an I-140, which means there's no limitation of 6 years that he has to be here. So with all these, now after a break, he's going to be applying for his H1B. He found an employer and he's applying for it. So those category of people are going to be paying the 100,000. So we did had a question earlier, as it mentioned everywhere, new H1B in the proclamation, people who earlier owned an H1B, so they come under the H1B cap. So then in that case, it's not going to be there. But however, unfortunately, even if they have earlier holding a H1B and they had been out of country, then they come under the H1B. So for another scenario, so a person applies for a H1B extension. Extension means they are within the United States, but they go out of country. What happens? Yes, they will be ending up paying for this. So if you look into it, an I-94 that is getting attached to the H1B, which is the case when this is happening within the US, so those kind of H1Bs are not going to pay for it. However, the people who are outside the country will end up paying the H1B fees of 100,000. People who are going to be here, they can always change the status from F1 to H1B, H4 to H1B if they get picked up in the lottery. So they are not going to be paying this fees. Yeah, the same way, even people who already have a valid visa and all those criteria, they have to be paying that fees of 100,000 unless they had been within the United States and they had an approved I-94. Say for example, they were in US, they filed their H1B, they got their I-94 valid, and then they went back to India for visa stamping. They are okay. All that they are doing is they are carrying this H1B approval which has approved when they had been in the United States, and then they going for a visa stamping. They are not going to be paying that 100,000. See, this all these 100,000 comes into effect once only at the time when you initiate it as a new H1B, and also mark it as a consulate approval, which means that you are out of country. Our experience of working on this H1Bs, right? The most probably the reasoning when there is an F1 student, for example, so they will be having their STEM OPT, which is for a longer period of time, or whatever reason that could be, they choose to have their H1B filed, but they file it as a consulate approval rather than changing their status to continue to work on their STEM OPT, and then they might go for the stamping and then they come back. There are many scenarios like this that happens where they choose to do it as a consulate approval. Those are some of the people who has to consider that they cannot be continuing to doing that, and they have to make every effort to change their status from within the United States rather than choosing to go for the consulate. Also, one more thing, how long is it going to be that 100,000 is going to be applicable, because it's a huge money, and how much employers, the small employers, small business holders can even pay for it to file their H1B is a big $100,000 question, I would say. But keeping that in mind, there is a lawsuit that's coming up. There are multiple organizations which were preparing, attorneys who were litigation attorneys preparing the lawsuits, but they were not very clear who these target audiences for this proclamation. So they waited all this time. Now they have a clarity. So this is going to bring up temporary, at least a restraining order, unless the court decides. This is going to be a huge change, and then the fees that is getting associated with the filing of a H1B, which was from minimum to that of 100,000, is too huge of a difference. So definitely there is going to be a lawsuit that's on its way, and then we will hear more about it as well. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching, and we'll definitely keep you posted about all the other updates that's happening. And also we do have smaller shorts and other videos which will be useful for someone. Please share it with other of your friends, which will help the community. Thanks for watching.